I feel spooky season in the air. Can you feel it? Now it's our turn to get spooky with this deck tech on Cards from the Dark. When this set came out, the nation was gripped with satanic panic. You know, Dungeons & Dragons got a bad rep back then, and so did Magic the Gathering. However, we're going to build the perfect commander deck with a card that came from Universes Beyond. They'll showcase these cards from the Dark. That commander is Ugluk of the White Hand. The Dark did feature quite a few goblins and a few orcs, so I figured this would be the perfect commander. He is going to make it so whenever another creature we control dies, we put a 1/1 counter on him. And if that creature was a goblin or an orc, we put 2 counters instead. I know I mentioned he's the perfect commander. I don't even know if he is. He's just the right colors and he features the right creature types. So anyways, let's get into the 30 cards that will make this the Dark Commander deck. If you thought white was the only color with access to exile removal, you're wrong. We've got Ashes to Ashes. For 3 mana, you get to exile 2 target non-artifact creatures, and it does 5 damage to you. I think that's a fair trade-off. Now it's time to add a blue ability to our Rakdos deck. That's Burl's Cage. This 4 mana artifact is going to let you pay 3 mana, and target creature does not untap as normal during its controller's next untap phase. If they attack you, they don't get to untap. You would be a fool if you didn't think I'd include the saltiest card of all time, Blood Moon. This is the original printing. All non-basic lands are now mountains. They can't play the game, but we still might get to. This set even gave us some card advantage. It may be weird and it may be bad, but we're running it. For 6 mana, you get Book of Wrath. You can pay 2 and 2 life and draw a card. This wouldn't be an old school deck tech if we didn't include weird lands. We've got City of Shadows. You can sack one of your creatures and exile it, and you put a counter on this land, and then you can tap to add X colorless mana, where X is the number of counters on it. You may be thinking that black doesn't have a way to get rid of artifacts. You'd be wrong. Curse Artifact does that. You enchant an artifact, and during their upkeep, they can sack that artifact, or they're going to take 2 damage every upkeep. We are running a few protection pieces as well, such as Dark Sphere. It's a 0-cost artifact, which means it has some value probably, and then you can tap it, sack it to prevent half of damage done to you by a single source. Did you know one of Commander's original staple 2-mana rocks was printed in this set? It's Felwar Stone. For 2 mana, you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool that an opponent's land could produce. Of course, we're going to be running more land destruction. It was super popular in the past. That's why we're running Fissure. For 5 mana, you can destroy a land or a creature, but I'm always going to hit a land. We also have some great Goblin Anthems in this deck. We've got Goblin Caves. For 3 mana, you enchant a basic mountain, and all goblins get +0/+2. If you hate walls as much as I do, you'll love Goblin Digging Team. It's a 1/1 for 1 red mana. You can tap it and sack it to destroy target wall. What's better than a 1/1 vanilla creature? A 2/2 vanilla creature. That's why we have Goblin Hero. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2 with a ton of room for flavor text. Next up, we have a creature with great stats for his mana. That's Goblin Rockslide. It's a 3/1 trampler for 2 mana, but it has a horrible downside. It can't attack unless an opponent controls a mountain, and then it doesn't untap after it attacks. The next card should be a staple in any Goblin deck. That's Goblin Shrine. This Anthem's going to give all of our goblins +1/+0. However, when it leaves play, it deals 1 damage to each goblin. We've got another 1/1 for 1. That's Goblins of the Flarg. It's got Mountain Walk, so it might get through. However, if we control a dwarf, we have to sacrifice him, and luckily we're not playing any dwarves. Now we're on to the most expensive card in this entire deck list, Goblin Wizard. It's reserve list, so it's worth all the wood. So for 4 mana, you get a 1/1, then you can tap it and put a goblin straight into play. Then it also gives goblins protection from white, one of the removal colors. This set even included a great board wipe, Inferno. For 7 mana, it deals 6 damage to all creatures and all players. If you thought Goblins of the Flarg was the only landwalker in this deck, you'd be wrong. We've got Marsh Goblins. This black-red goblin has Swamp Walk. Next up, we have a card that still sees a lot of play today. That's Maze of Ith. You can tap it and target attacking creature becomes untapped and it neither deals or receives combat damage this turn. Orcs still aren't a popular creature type, even with Lord of the Rings, but we do have Orc General. This 3 mana 2/2 lets us sacrifice an orc or a goblin to give all of our orcs a buff. Wizards of the Coast tried to make equipment work for so long. One of their first attempts is Rune Sword. For 6 mana, you can tap it to give target attacking creature +2/+0 until end of turn, and any creature destroyed by it gets exiled instead. Great news, we've got some more weird lands for this deck. We've got Safe Haven. It's going to allow us to exile our creatures to keep them safe from removal, and then during our upkeep, we can sacrifice this land to bring them all back to the battlefield. As a Goblin and Orc deck, flyers are our enemy. We can stop them with Scarecrow. This 5 mana 2/2 will let us pay 6 and tap it, and creatures with flying cannot damage us. Nothing like some forced combat in a Rakdos deck. We can do that with Season of the Witch, the original. For 3 black pips, at the end of each player's turn, all of his or her untapped creatures that did not attack but could have are destroyed. We even have some more unique ramp in the form of Sisters of the Flame. It's a mana dork. It costs 3 red mana, and it taps for a red. Pretty unique. Next up, we have the worst land in all of Magic the Gathering. If you think there's a worse one, let me know in the comments below. That's Sorrow's Path. It allows us to switch blockers around. However, when it becomes tapped, it deals 2 damage to all of our creatures. So we'll probably just board wipe ourselves. We even have some crazy ramp in this deck in the form of Stone Calendar. It may cost 5 mana, but all of our spells are reduced by 1. In my opinion, every deck needs graveyard hate. That's why we're running Tormod's Crypt. It's a 0-cost artifact, and you can tap it, sack it to remove all cards in target player's graveyard from the game. The worst thing about a goblin deck is trying to get our little guys through during combat. We can get them through with Word of Binding. It's going to let us tap down all of our opponent's creatures, so we can hopefully swing for lethal. Guess what? Our last card from the dark hates on lands. That's Worms of the Earth. It's a 5-mana enchantment, and no new lands may be played. However, during any player's upkeep, they can sacrifice 2 lands or take 5 damage to destroy Worms of the Earth. That wraps it up. If you want the full deck list, it's on Moxfield, link in the description. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.